Hey guys, hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. So it gives me a real pleasure to introduce Dr. Sharan again and of course myself. So the last time we recorded a video was when we were both applying for the USMLE process and we had taken our step one, I guess, and we were preparing the step two and we recorded a video on how to start the research journey for USMLE, right, Sharan? So
Yes, yes, good days, good times, good times,
and
good
uh,
times.
and now we are on the other end. Sharon is a PGY1 at the Cleveland Clinic, and I'm also doing my PGY1 at St. Vincent Hospital. And So we were just thinking, why not to give back to the community and start something to help the fellow applicants who are applying for this year's match cycle. So we came up with this idea of the Match podcast, where we will be talking about uh, ERAS application, the caveats of ERAS, the pitfalls, and then subsequently about letters of interest, rank list, NRMP match, and whatnot. So I will give the time to Sharon to speak about his thoughts and his experience and more things. So up to you, Sharon.
Thank you so much, Saurabh. I think the way I see the series is two people. I want to make sure that the series is something that people view as if it's just two friends talking about their experience. And this is not going to be advice. It's not going to be do this, do that, do this, do that. That kind of advice doesn't really work. What matters is its perspective. We are, I consider myself as an ex-applicant rather than a current PGY1. And I think Saurav has the same, I think you see it the same way. And I
Right.
think if we
Our
can,
fellow applicants. Yeah.
exactly, you know what I mean? So like, I feel like that's the way I want to approach this. And I think it'll be beneficial for a lot of people.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that. Because being in their shoes and seeing the process through their eyes gives us a real opportunity to talk, in the real sense rather than just advising do this and do that.
Advice
Yes,
doesn't work
absolutely.
because advice doesn't work because advice is very personalized and it what works for somebody might not work for somebody else. Correct. So it's
Accurate.
very
Accurate.
important to
Yeah.
yeah. So it's very important to have. It's important to have perspective, which is more like universal rather than just advice. Do this, do that, do this, do that. That's how I feel, at least.
Right, perfect. And I totally agree with that. So, Sharon, today I was thinking we will talk a little bit about the signaling. I will share my experience with the signaling last year, and then you can talk about your experience with the signaling. And of course, there is a slight change in the signals compared to last year.
Yeah,
But we can come on some common points and some common pitfalls which can be helpful to our fellow applicants who are applying for this match cycle. So
100%.
just a little bit of idea and my experience last year. So, as you know, we had seven signals, and to me, it was like a very new thing. Signals, and I was not aware of the programs. To be honest, like, okay, so this program is really famous in New Jersey. I had no idea. Like, okay,
Yeah,
uh, or for
right.
example, this program is really famous in Brooklyn. I had no idea. So for me, it was, I would say, challenging to kind of narrow down where I would be signaling. I didn't had that perspective to see, okay, this program matches my profile. I couldn't understand that thing when they say, okay, apply to a program which matches your profile. To me, I was thinking,
It makes
okay, if I
sense.
signal this program, then they're gonna see me as
Yeah.
someone who has signaled us, and then they're gonna definitely give me a interview. But so this was my initial idea when I started with this
Right.
signaling last year. What about you?
So I think there is a fundamental like misunderstanding of what a signal is. And
Hmm.
I like to look at life. as a board game. And so to me, that's how I looked at signals also, right? So fundamentally, what is a signal, right? It is an objective message to the program saying that, look, and in text, in the context of this year, it's 3 gold and 12 silver, right? So you're
Right.
telling, right? So when you gold signal a program, you're saying, hey, you are in my top three.
Right.
And when you silver signal a program, you're saying you are not in my top three, but you are somewhere. You can either be number four or you can be number 15. I don't know, but you're somewhere. You are, I'm
Mhm.
looking at you, right? And then the programs you haven't signaled, you are basically telling them you're not even in my top 15.
Right.
Fundamentally, that's what it is.
Yeah, so coming back to the point, for us like IMGs, I would say it is much more important to match
100%.
rather than, for example, when we apply, we only think about matching rather than matching at XYZ place.
So that's the thing. There are two things, right? There are two goals here. Again, the board game analogy. There are two goals that you have to achieve. The first one is, okay, you want to match. The second is you want to match at a place that you want to match at.
Mhm.
Correct? The I think even thinking about the second goal is like a luxury in a way, because it is so difficult and it is so competitive. And us we are not locals. We have come from the outside, and just like the IPL, like the local talent is given, um, well, it is promoted far more heavily than the international talent.
Right.
And so, in the same way, that's how I look at the match. That okay, in this case, we are the international students, so naturally, the local talent will be given more of a leeway. And so, as you said, our job is to match, and so
Right.
that's how we have to play the game. That's the game that we're
Right.
playing.
And yeah, and so coming to last year when I applied to the program, so after so much of discussion and thinking that okay, I should apply here, and finally I narrowed down to 7 programs where I was signaling, and I would be very honest and very open here because again, this is we are seeing from their
The
eyes
other
and
perspective, yeah.
keeping ourselves in their shoes. So after narrowing down, so I thought, okay, these are the programs that I will be signaling. So I got like from my 7 signals, I got like 4 interviews. So that was the kind of my experience. But I would say those 4 programs were actually the programs that aligned with my profile, and somehow,
Exactly.
I was able to narrow down to those programs to signal them and eventually getting an interview and eventually getting matched there. So to the applicants that are applying this year, I would honestly say that the 3 gold signals should always go to the program that aligns your profile,
Correct.
that has people who have the similar kind of profile, similar kind of demography, and everything similar. For example, you can see yourself in their place. Uh, that's the idea about the goal, right? What do you
Perfect,
say?
perfect. So again, so I mean, tracking back a little bit, I think there are two things that are very important that every applicant needs to understand up here, right? First of all, whatever we are talking about applies to probably the middle 80% of the applicant pool. The top 10% can do whatever they want and they're going to match. The bottom
Mhm.
10% can follow every single tactic, advice, etc., but they're going to have a hard time, objectively.
Right.
So first you need to identify where are you? And most of us will fall in that middle 80%. The second important thing is what you just said, right? Like you have to match to a program where other people similar to your profiles have matched. Now, it's very important to understand that what makes you desirable to a program changes from program to program. right? So there are some programs that don't even interview DOs. Some programs don't interview IMGs. Some programs only interview people with high scores. Some programs only interview people with high research, like lots of research,
Hmm.
right? Some programs only interview people that have worked at that particular program for like an extended period of time,
Right.
correct? And so it's kind of important to know. So when you talk about signaling and when you, especially the gold signals, right, which those are the ones that we really care about because you want to make sure that those three gold signals are slam dunks. You signal the program, you interview there, and you hope to match there, because
That's
that's
there.
how precisely you have to signal, correct? The way you do that is first you look at your profile objectively and you look at the program, you look at the applicants who have matched there previously and you try to create some sort of correlation. Is there a similarity or a cohesion there,
Right.
right? If if you see that a program has not matched a single IMG in the last 3 years, but somehow you really want to go to that program, the program director is not Santa Claus. Right. It's not like you're wishing something and it's gonna happen. This is a job application process,
Right. Right.
right? So you have to like figure out that okay, maybe I might want to, if I really like that program, maybe a silver signal is a good idea. But
Yeah.
do I want to take my gold signal and give it to this program?
Mm,
Maybe not, right?
no,
Maybe not
I
the
won't
best
do that.
thing. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
so then there are like parameters. Then you get into like, okay, how do I evaluate the similarity of my profile with somebody else's profile, or with the profiles of the people that have applied, right, or that have matched? I think a big factor and one of the things that are understated are especially for people who come from medical schools who've been matching like applicants in the past, right? See, if somebody from your medical school, if it's, you tell me how you feel about these two scenarios, right? There's somebody from you are program director, you hire somebody and he or she says that somebody from their country of origin is applying versus somebody from their medical school is applying.
Yeah, of course, I will sway towards the person who is
Why?
applying from the same medical school.
Why? Because you know that the person from that medical school, the training that they receive, there's a lot of cohesion. Individual to individual,
Right.
there's a lot of variability,
Right.
of course.
Right. Right.
But
Right.
there might be less variability when it comes to people within the same medical school versus within the same country.
Right.
And so the reliability for the program director for choosing an applicant who from a medical school that is similar to the one in the similar to somebody in the past is going to be high. And so that's why it's so important. If, and it's not for everybody, I completely understand, but if you have seniors, you need to reach out to them and you need to talk to them.
Absolutely. And this was one of the criteria I would say that I used last year while signaling. So
Exactly.
I made sure that the signals I'm signaling those places where I have some sort of connection. It should not be like I'm a complete stranger to them. Either I have a letter from that place or I have someone who can vouch for me at that place. So so
I
if
mean,
I say
it doesn't have to be like vouch essentially, right? It just has to be that okay, somebody from even your state or somebody from a sister medical
exactly
college
some
or your
sort of
city,
connection, some sort of
right,
connection.
has matched there, so they will know that okay, they will.
Exactly.
There is some sort of like, I wouldn't say stamp, but like they know that okay, there is some, this is at least sincere or original because there is some trust
Right.
before the relationship is formed. There's a trust
Right.
before the interview, and that's important. That's very
Yeah.
important.
Yeah, I'll share an experience. Like I was interviewing at one of the program where a person from the same state that I come from had matched previously, and she had worked really great in that program. So when I was interviewing, they were saying, "Oh, you come from the same medical school, as you mentioned,
Exactly.
Sharon, as you mentioned." So I was like, "No, she had the different medical school, but we had the same city and the same university." So they were like, okay, she did really well in our program and we really look forward to you coming to this program. So I definitely For example, some programs they are in the areas that receive a very high snowfall, I would say, and then they kind of look for the people who come from similar
Yeah,
geography where there is a weather that is cold and they have an
for
experience.
sure.
These things really matter, right?
For sure. And see, these are things that like people don't talk about, right? Because like oh, all people talk about are scores, metrics,
Scores.
rotations, these things, right? Now, here's the thing, right? You're not a student anymore. This is a job application. Like, think logically. If 80% of your patient population in the community where you're like, if you're the program director and 80% of the patient population that you serve is Spanish speaking,
Of
right?
course, yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
do you want to hire like people who have grown up speaking Spanish, or do you want to hire somebody who has taken a 1 year course on Spanish and has some certification saying that they can talk in Spanish?
No, of course no. And yeah, and
Right?
similarly, if let's say you don't know Spanish and then you are sending your gold signal to a program that
Right. You're
right that
not
is
gonna fit
in an
there.
area which has the Spanish speaking population, doesn't make any sense, right?
You're not gonna fit there. And that's the thing. It's not that you're a bad applicant or you're not a good applicant. It's just that for that particular program, you don't fit there. And it's
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
right? It's
because there are
fine.
places where you fit, and you just have to
Exactly.
find those places where you fit. That is the
But
whole mantra
yes.
about the signaling.
But the reason why people don't do it is because it requires an objective assessment of your own profile. And
And
people
then they are
don't like to do it.
then they are not putting that desired work, I would say, because it takes a lot of effort actually.
I don't think it's effort, yeah. I think a lot of it is we're also everybody's human. We're all humans, right? And
Yeah,
it's hard to kind of objectively look at our own achievements and our own profile and think कि यार okay, where do I go with? Because we all want the best for ourselves. We're all high achieving candidates. We've all been the
yeah,
best of the best of the best. We all
yeah.
think that since we've been topping our class or our medical school or whatever, we'll be
Right,
topping the
right,
world. But that's not how it
right.
works.
And also, it also takes a effort to kind of dig into the program profile and dig into the
Yes.
residents that have matched there
Yes.
and make a list, and then kind of thinking,
It's a lot of
okay,
effort. It's a
right, it
lot of
takes a
effort.
lot of effort. Yeah.
There's no guide to for it, right? Nobody, like, there's no like mantra that, okay, sit here,
Mhm.
open up the program website, look at the applicants, make like there's no sectioned way of doing it. But you just need to really know one yourself and two the program. And you need to see whether if you are the program director, would you hire yourself if you're applying? And if
Exactly.
the answer is yes, that might be a candidate for a gold signal right there.
Yeah, so definitely, Sharon, and if I have to conclude on the gold signal, like what are my conclusions, and then I will take your conclusion. So so my conclusions will be aligned towards those 80% of the population that is applying for the match, and I come from that 80% of the population. So I would say my prime goal is to match. Number one, I have to be very sure that I have to match because all my resources are at stake and I cannot take another year for the similar process. So my gold signals will go to the places where, number one, I fulfill the score criteria, I fulfill the YOG criteria, my profile aligns with the profile that the residents there have. For example, if like half of the residents there have already done postdoc fellowships and they are taking the
Exactly.
residents that I will not apply there. So I will apply to the program where similar kind of people with 3 4 articles or 5 6 researches have matched, and you can easily access those profile. This is very easy. Everyone is on LinkedIn. You can see what
Exactly.
people have done. It's not a kind of rocket science. Then people ask me, how do we assess their profile? I'm like, look at LinkedIn, look at Twitter. It's easy. We
That's
live in
true.
a
That's
world
true.
where everyone is connected. So,
Yeah.
number second, and I have to make sure I don't do those mistakes. Like if I'm sending my gold signal to a place where the demography is different, I don't know that language. Of course, they will prefer a candidate, a resident that is fluent in those languages, right? And number third, I will make sure, or at least I will try to make sure that the gold signals are going to the places where I have someone in any sort of connection. Either I have a letter from that place, or I have a senior in that place, or a senior was there and he graduated and now he can vouch, or I have rotated with an attending who works at that place so that, oh,
For sure.
it's
For
possible that
sure.
he or she
For
can vouch.
sure.
So these are my conclusion, and I would like to hear what you feel.
I like to simplify things. It very simply, I would want to match, or I would want to give gold signals to the place where the people would want to hire me and where I would want to work also. And the
Right.
second element is a little weird. People think, how can how can you say that, how can you exercise a choice? Isn't that a luxury? It isn't, because you have to understand there are a lot of programs. You really need to look into where they are, right? If you're somebody who, like, you don't need to compromise every single time. That's very important. If you
Mhm.
don't want to live in the middle of the desert, it's okay. You don't need to send a gold signal to a program in the middle of the desert. There are other programs, but you need to do the work to find them.
Right,
That's
exactly.
important. So
Yeah.
very simple. Programs that would hire me and programs that I would love to work for. Those are the two Venn diagrams, right? And wherever they overlap, that is my gold signal list. And then you assess that list with the parameters that you listed out, and you
Yeah.
make a rank order list yourself, and the top three get my gold signal. That's it.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. You find out the programs that you like, then you think whether they will like you, make make a common list, and then find out whether you qualify
These
for
are
them or not.
parameters. Precisely. Because you don't want to see, this is residency is also 3 years of your life, right?
Right.
You don't want to work at a place where, like, if given the choice, especially at the beginning of the application, if I feel like it is very important to actually explore the place also. This is a whole country, right? Like, you
Hmm.
can't just say, ki, okay, there are these 20 programs that keep getting talked about, or there are these two program directors that are or three program directors that are very public or very social. So I'll only still send a gold signal there. It shouldn't be like
No.
that.
Yeah, it
You
shouldn't be
have to
like that.
look at where do you want to apply, and that's important, right? So
Yeah,
that's the case. That's how I play it.
and yeah, that's a work in itself. For example,
Yeah.
sitting in India, and
Yeah,
you just came to US for doing rotation. You don't know the whole US, right?
you don't.
It will take a
You
lot of
don't.
effort to understand what
For
Philadelphia
sure.
offers, or what Cleveland offers, or what Massachusetts offer,
That's the
right?
thing, for sure. Like, I've never been to Cleveland before this, right? When I matched, I landed here with my family, and I'm like, oh, this is Cleveland. Like, that's the thing. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
it's a you have to think of this, zoom out a little bit, think of it as a how would you play this if this were a board game? That is how you will play it objectively. I'm
Yeah,
telling.
of
I
course.
think
And
medical students are smart enough to do that. We the problem is we just get lost in the emotion because there's so much that we invest into this journey.
mhm.
But when you are making these crucial and critical decisions, it's important to detach. It's important to zoom out, look at the variables in play, and then um, play your part. So yeah, that's
And it really matters where you are gonna spend the next 3 years of life,
yeah,
because we don't we don't think about these things when we are applying, but once we are in the system, and
yeah,
then these things really matter. How is your quality of life, whether you have activities to do outside of the program, or you are in a secluded place where these things
for
really
sure,
matter, and
for sure,
these
for sure.
contribute to the overall mental health, and then of course the physical health. So Sharon, moving forward to the silver signal, now of course we are planning to have all our interviews, at least three of the interviews coming from the gold signal. What is your ideology and what is your strategy about the silver signals?
But my strategy about my super signals, I like it. Now you're speaking my language. So look,
Hmm.
my primary goal as an IMG is to match, right?
Right.
And the problem with the similar signal is even if I send it to the program that is number four on my list, that program might think they are my number 15. They don't know,
Yeah,
right?
it can happen. Yeah.
They don't know. They don't know. So I would not even expect more like of the 12 signals, if you can bag three, maybe four interviews from those 12, like you have won. In life, you have won. Like there is this is a very important thing people need to understand that when you are telling a program that you're silver signaling them, you're also telling them, look, you are not in my top three.
Yeah. And then they
Right?
have gold signals as well coming from other people.
Exactly, right. So then that's the math that you have to kind of take into consideration. So the way I would play it honestly is three goal signals are slam dunks. They are places that I know I want to go, and we've talked about it at length. For the silvers, I would do a 3-6-3 split where I would probably do three programs that I really want to match into, but are kind of reach programs that I don't know. Ki matlab,
Mhm.
if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it's okay. Six programs are programs that match all those parameters but didn't make it to my gold list.
Yeah, maybe those places were less desirable or
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
So something they didn't make it to my goal list. As simple as that. I have a list of 10 to 12 programs I want to go to. Three made it to the gold. Whatever didn't make it to the gold, go to my get silver. So that's six of those. And then three programs I'd probably signal, which are like super safety programs. Programs that like either I'm overqualified, not I wouldn't say overqualified, but I would almost say that I know that this program would probably want me more than I'd want that program.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
it's kind of difficult to come to that conclusion, but there are programs like that also. And
Yeah, kind
it
of
is,
kind of buffer. I would say it's a sort
yeah,
of buffer for you. Yeah.
yeah, and what that buffer for you is might be different. That might be a reach program for somebody else. Right.
Yeah.
So it's very important. There is no objective criteria of whether, like, we are nobody to judge what is a good program, what is a bad program.
Yeah.
But we
Yeah.
can exercise a judgment of what is a good program for us personally. That's
Yeah.
it. That is the
Yeah.
judgment
Yeah.
you have to execute, right?
Yeah.
And it's important to realize that somebody's gold might be another person's bottom three silver,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
completely fine. That's
And that's
completely fine.
completely fine. Yeah, that's completely fine.
And right. And beyond my signals, I would not expect a single interview from any other program beyond because if I've not signaled that program, I'm telling them, look, you're not even in my top 15.
In my top 15, why would they even send you an
Why would you
interview
waste
and
your time?
waste their time? Exactly.
Yeah.
And last year I was not expecting any interview out of my seven.
Top
So
seven.
this year
For
it's like
sure. For
15.
sure.
No. And
For sure.
I totally agree with your point that it is very variable. For example, the gold signal of an IMG may not even be in the program list for an American grad, and that's
For
completely
sure.
okay,
For
right?
sure. Because
And
what matters is you to match your profile with your program. There is no objective list of programs where you to
and
match it.
and yeah, and then a person with, let's say, 230s in step two will send a gold signal to one program where a IMG with 260s will not send a silver signal to,
It's okay.
right?
And
So
that's
there
okay.
is a balancing act.
For
So
sure.
because
For sure.
because that person with 260s will have more other programs to send his or her silver signal.
For
So of
sure.
course this will go out. So
So
now this program
another
knows
thing,
that
another thing, another thing though is the gold signal is where you get to tell the program, hey, I really like you. I want to come to your program. The silver signal is basically you telling the program, hey, I'm looking at you, but if
yeah,
you like me a lot, please invite me. That, that- it's a
exactly,
it's a very
exactly.
subtle change of
There is that.
conversation, but I guess the negotiation, there's a shift in the negotiation. The three gold, you're saying, I want to come here. In the
Yeah.
silver, you're saying, look, I'm looking at you. If you like me, please invite me. I'd love to come and interview. That's the real sauce.
Mhm. Yeah. So for me, if I have to send the silver signals, I would again use that strategy that these signals are to make sure or to help me get matched. And I will send 8 of my signals or to those places again and again, where I have uh, a chance to get the interview from. For example, there were some weak connections there, and I didn't want to send my gold signals there. Now I will send my silver signals there. Or there are candidates with similar profiles there, and I would send silver there. And then 3 signals I will keep for for the places where I aspire to match, but I know they are out of my reach, but still 2 or 3 signals I can always try there. You never know
For sure,
what
for
where
sure.
destiny will take you, right? So
Wait, I want to add something. So we've talked a lot about, you know, having a connection or something like that, right? I want to make a point here because I don't want this to be misconstrued. Okay.
mhm,
It's if you are a program director, right? And you have three applicants on file who are applying to your program. And I'm asking you, Saurav, you're the program director. You're program director, Dr. Saurav. Take care.
mhm.
You have three applicants applying. Applicant A is an exceptional candidate.
Yeah.
Applicant B is either applicant B has some connection with the program in the sense that applicant B is like, okay, uh, they have worked for a month, they know the city, they have worked with somebody, they come from a medical school where an exceptional graduate from your medical school, from your program has gone. What some very random mild connection, right? An applicant C is completely unknown to you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, wait. Applicant A is an exceptional candidate on paper, but applicant B and C are exactly identical on
Mhm.
paper. How would you rank these three applicants?
And I have how many spots? Like 1 spot?
No, so you are ranking them. Now you're making a rank
Oh,
order
you.
list. So
I
you
just
have
have to rank. So yeah, I
just
will. I
rank
will
them
go
in
with.
terms of priority. In terms of
I will go
priority.
with A. I will go with A, B, and C
Why? Why did you choose B over C?
because, as you
No, it is
mentioned, like
unfair,
B
right? It is
has
unfair, na. Unfair. It isn't it unfair. I mean,
no,
you are not
but
doing. Tell
the
me.
thing is that I have to see. There is the element of trust in this, right? Uh,
Exactly. You
yeah,
are
because I
hiring
have to
for a
work with a
job.
person. Yeah, this is a
Yes.
job interview.
This is a job interview.
This is
And
a
you
job
are taking
interview.
the exceptional candidate on top, which means your profile is the most consistent thing that will get you far, right?
Of course, yeah, yeah.
Nothing comes close to that.
I didn't kind of change B A C.
Over
It
A.
was always
Right.
A, and it will
Exactly.
always be A. Yeah.
Correct. But when it comes to B and C, when there's an unknown and a known, there are 800, let's say there are 800 C's in the pool and there are two B's in the pool. But you already trust the B more than the C because of some reason.
Mm-hmm,
As a
mm-hmm,
program director, your job is not to provide a fair chance to everybody. You are not like the adjudicator. Your job is to fill your resident pool with the best candidates that you can fill so that your community or the people that you serve as in your hospital get the best
mm-hmm.
care possible.
Right.
And if you know that there is the applicant B and C are on paper great, but you know that applicant B has a slight advantage, which might be a subjective advantage, then
Mm-hmm.
that applicant ends up getting prioritized. And that is completely fine because that is
Fair,
how jobs work.
fair.
That is not how NEET works. And that is why, as Indians or in a lot of international communities where everything is like marks based, we kind of feel, oh, this is not appropriate. But we've
No,
never
yeah,
really applied for a job, have we? We've only
yeah,
applied for our exams and degrees.
exactly. Yeah. So
Yeah,
Sharon,
that's the
yeah,
point. Yeah,
I'm sorry I'm interrupting you, but we just have like 2 minutes to wrap up this
yeah.
conversation. I didn't think previously that this conversation will go like 40 minutes. I was like, okay, we can wrap it up in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. But yeah, insights are always very important. And if 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 I would had seen this video from two other persons last year, maybe
Would have been awesome.
my strategy would had changed or something like that.
For
But
sure. For
yeah,
sure.
but let's come to the closing remarks, and I would love to hear your remarks.
I mean, I think we've said everything we needed to. Only thing I'd add is watch uh, the video on signaling by the sheriff of Sodium. He's a
Oh yeah,
YouTuber. He's a great
yeah,
doctor. He's on YouTube, on Twitter. That man broke down signaling for me, and it's actually pretty important. You need to
right,
understand what this
perfect.
is.
And then after that, watch our video.
Oh yeah, no, our video first. That's secondary.
Okay. 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 Thank you so much, Sharon, for your time. And I hope
Yeah,
we can meet another, maybe after a week, and make a video on
for sure,
geographical preferences and things like that. Okay.
for sure, for
So
sure.
till then, bye bye. Take care, Sharon. All the best. Bye.
See you, Saurav. Bye bye.